video, we're going to learn how to draw a lipid bilayer where you can see the individual lipid molecules in the bilayer. So I'm going to zoom in, going to draw a circle. That's the polar head group. I'm going to make this a little darker than the lipid component. There's the polar head group. And then I'm going to zoom in some more, and I'm going to actually draw the lipid chain. And you want them to be kind of wiggly. You want them to be curvy. Make them a little lighter. Now I'm going to select that polar head group, right click, say arrange, bring to the front. So I use the pencil tool to draw a squiggly lipid portion, and then a circle to draw the polar head group. I want to make sure that it's you want the outer boundaries. You don't want these lipid chains to be outside the circle. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this, move it over here. Now I want to redraw those lipid chains because I want to add it. I want to make it look like there's some randomness. Just want to make sure that it's all confined. Now I'm going to hold the Alt key, drag it to copy. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. So you hold, so now I want to rotate it. So I'm going to hold the Shift key. Oh, no, sorry. I'm going to first begin to rotate it, then click and hold the Shift key. So I'm going to rotate it around. Drag it down here, line it up about like that. I'm going to make sure that it's all confined. So see, this one's over here a little, it's shifted to the left. I want to make sure that it is aligned. So I'm snapped to the different pixels. That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to group this. I'm going to highlight the top object and group that. So now, in order to group an object, you highlight the different. So let me ungroup it. So I'm going to, so you have the different components. So I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to click Control G, and that groups those objects. Then I'm going to select the bottom, Control G, and so now what I want to do is I want to align these properly. So I'm going to highlight both of them, go up here and click Align so that they're perfectly aligned. And then, so now you can see the beginnings of the lipid bilayer. Now I want to copy this, so I'm going to hold Alt, drag it, and then place it over here. And so what I'm doing is I'm not actually going to build the entire lipid membrane. I'm going to make a brush out of this, but I want to create some randomness so that you don't see a repeated structure. So now I'm going to flip it. So I click on the object. So I select the objects, I right click, and then I'm going to go down here to transform, and I'm going to click reflect along the vertical and say okay. All right, and let's that should look good. So now I'm going to highlight, and so now I want to put a white backing on it. So I'm going to click the rectangle tool. Let me zoom in, holding the Alt key, and then spinning the wheel on my mouse. So I'm going to click on the rectangle, and then I move my mouse so I see the anchor, and then I click and hold that left mouse button and drag it down until I see anchor again. So now I'm on the outside edge of that circle. I'm going to remove the boundary stroke on that rectangle, and then now I'm going to click over here and fill it with white. click over to the selection tool. I'm going to right click, and go down to arrange, click send to the back. Okay, that just creates a white backing behind the lipid bilayer, just in case I have anything under it. Any lines under it. This will white out those lines. So now I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to go over here and click brushes. And if you don't see this brush icon, you go up to window and go down to brushes, and you'll see a window pop up. Drag it over there and merge it with this menu. So click on brushes, and you'll see your palette of brushes. This is a custom brush here. Oh, Control Z. That was chaos. I want to, and so if I want to delete that brush, let me click away and click on this and click delete. Say yes. So that removes it, because we're going to add a brush that looks very similar to that. So I'm going to highlight these objects that we previously drew, drag it over there. You'll see a blue outline on the brush palette. Then release, that adds it to that palette. Let's add those objects to the palette. I'm going to click pattern brush, say OK. Opens a window here, and this gives us many options. But we're going to go down here to the bottom, and so you notice this image. It tells you the behavior of this brush as it turns left, as the pathway that you drew turns left. You see there's a break there, so we want to change that, and that's up here. So you see there's a white box there that indicates that we're going to modify this one. So I'm going to click this down arrow, and I want to say auto between. So that defines how it behaves around that corner. And then over here on the top right, this tells you what's going to happen as it makes a right turn. This is a left-hand turn. Now up here is a right-hand turn. I want to click down, and then I want to click auto between, so that see that they're now the same. And you say OK. Don't click away. Hold Alt button, and then spin the mouse wheel out. And then now I'm going to draw a line. And if I click this, now it adds that brush along that line. And you can create any number of structures, but there is a more detailed lipid bilayer where you can see the individual lipid chains and the polar head groups.